Skoglund, and here is a short sequence to help open up and stretch your feet and strengthen your arches. So the first one is just massaging the soles of the feet, and you can just use your thumbs and run along the inner arch from the inner heel to the big toe mound, and just applying a nice amount of pressure so you can really get in there. And then you can switch feet, and if you're uncomfortable sitting on the floor, you can do this sitting on a chair with one foot crossed over your knee. So you don't have to be sitting on the floor, just make sure that you're comfortable. And another way to massage the soles of your feet using your own feet is kneeling with the arch of your top foot nestled into the sole of your bottom foot. And then you can move the arch of your foot along the sole of the bottom foot. And just let the weight of your body apply the deep pressure. And it can be quite intense, so just breathe deeply. And switch sides. And if you feel particularly tender or tight part, you can just even pause and stay there for a little bit longer. And try to get all the areas of the arch of your foot. The next one is called a yoga handshake. So you interlace your fingers between your toes, and you try to get the webbing of your fingers all the way into the webbing of your toes. And if your feet are quite tight, which they tend to be when we're used to wearing shoes all the time, and our toes get all scrunched together, this might be quite intense. And you might start with just the tips of your fingers, and then as you're able to, you can go all the way to the base. And then you can squeeze your hand around your toes and then circle your ankle one way and the other. And you can even squeeze your toes into your hands and then spread your toes into your fingers. So you're scrunching up, you're strengthening the muscles of the toes themselves, the adductors and the abductors. Then you can do the other foot, threading the fingers all the way as far as you can into the webbing of your fingers and your toes. And then just supporting your ankle with the other hand as you circle the foot. There's shoes that you can get called yogi toes, which basically do the same thing, and this is just a way to use your own hands. And squeezing your fingers with your toes and then spreading your toes into your fingers. To make this more intense, you can go over top. So threading over the top, and then it's just a little bit deeper. It gives the toes a little bit more of a stretch. So that's another way to do it. And then pulling your toes. So just taking one toe right at the base and really squeezing and pulling, and they might even crack. And that's totally okay. Sorry for that. So just releasing some tension. And again, with the toes, with the shoes that we wear, the toes get really tight and all the muscles get all bound up, and that can prevent all kinds of problems that translate all the way up through our bodies. So the next one is kneeling. So the first version is with your toes tucked under, and then you can move slowly here because it can be quite intense, stretching the fascia, the plantar fascia of your feet. So you can use your hands to press down and bring the weight back, and then as you're able to stand it, you can walk your hands back and let the weight of your body release into your heels. And make sure that the feet are vertical and that you're not splaying your heels out to the sides, because then you'll overstretch your ankles. And then once you stay there for a few breaths, then you can point your feet, so flatten the feet, and you can click your toenails into the mat, and then slowly bring the weight back into your heels. And as you can, bring the weight back, and then just stay there for a few more breaths. Just letting the body release back and bringing your spine more vertical. You can also modify this, so if the tops of the ankles and feet tend to be very tight, you can put a towel that's rolled up or a blanket that's rolled up underneath the tops of the ankles, and that will lessen the stretch. It won't be quite as intense. So the last stretching exercise is you find a corner, and then you can put your toes up the wall, really emphasizing that you're getting the four corners of your foot on the floor with your toes up the wall. And switching sides and making sure that the weight doesn't roll too much to the inside or the outside of the foot. So if you have flat arches, there's a way to strengthen the arches because the arches are basically muscles in the feet. And you do this by simply lifting and spreading your toes. And it's insta-arch without orthopedic supports. So this can take practice as those muscles tend to be weak if you don't use them regularly like we do in yoga. So you can just work on lifting, spreading your toes. So when you lift and spread, try to get the big toes towards each other, and then you strengthen the muscles that start to realign the feet. The big toes draw towards each other, and the pinky toes draw towards the outer heels. So that's the first step, lifting and spreading. The second step is to try to reach your big toes out and down, like you're trying to press a button in front of you. And then the third part is to spread your pinky toes out and down and place them down. So the advanced posture is to be able to have your big toes and little toes down with your middle toes lifting and spreading. And then you've engaged all three arches of the feet, the inner, the outer, and the transverse, the one that goes under the base of the toes. So one more exercise you can do to strengthen the muscles in the feet and the arches is a marble or a napkin pickup. So you just grab a napkin or a towel and you just crunch it up as if you're going to pick it up. You can just do this a few times, and this works with a marble too, or a little bouncy ball. If you tend to spend many hours at a desk, is to have tennis balls with you and just take your shoes off and roll your feet on a tennis ball. And just apply some pressure and get along the arch of your foot. And you can even stand, if you got two balls, stand on the ball itself, right underneath, slightly in front of the heel. And there's also pressure points there. And then doing the opposite, so having the ball more underneath the base of the toes and then letting the weight of the heel release down. And just staying in each position for a few breaths. Having more into the middle as well. So there's a few practices and exercises you can do to stretch and open your feet and strengthen the arches of your feet so that you can have healthy